It's Oklahoma week, a week that used to really mean something for the Huskers. In fact, this year, we really thought it was going to mean something again, but here we are at 1-2. Scott Frost is gone, Mickey Joseph is here now, and it really seems like the entirety of Husker Nation has wrapped their arms around him. Gary and I included are both completely behind Mickey in hoping that he can take over this job successfully and lock it up for good. Starting with a win against Oklahoma would be incredible. It is technically possible. But Gary, I don't think we either think it's very likely, do we?
No, I don't. I don't think, even if the players react different for Mickey, the amount of change that would have to happen in the span of a week because one guy is different is going to be, I'll be shocked if it's a real sizable difference. You know what I mean?
It really would be too much to ask of Mickey.
Yeah, it'd be too much to ask of Mickey, but I don't know how much of it would be his doing anyways. I think more of it would be if we do see a noticeable change and guys are executing and more focused. I feel like it would be more of a factor that just the environment changed and they're more driven for whatever reason, or they're a little more focused. I don't think it would be anything particular that he does. I know there's talks that he's got him hitting in practice. He made some arrangements on the defensive side for like Shenander's coaching safeties now so that Fisher can focus on the DBs and work with the nickels more. You know, there's been some tweaks and they changed up the practice schedule and things like that a little bit, but I don't think any of those things are going to be a noticeable difference in a week. Yeah, I think it's going to take a little bit more time for those things to have an effect, or the desired effect from him. I think if you get any kind of a change right off the bat, it's going to be, I don't know the best way to explain it, like a shock to the system type deal with like, holy hell, you know, like most people didn't expect a change this soon. A lot of people didn't think it would be this season. A lot of people thought if it happened, it would be at the end of the year. And then I think pretty much everyone else outside of that bubble thought that it was at least going to be after October 1st. So, I mean, I could see it being a shock to the players as well as all of us and a lot of the media. And it's something that makes them, just gives a different feel or environment in the locker room and throughout practice this week. And that's really the only, in my opinion, I could be completely wrong or missing something, but in my opinion, that's really the only pipe dream hope that we're going to see a noticeable enough difference from the way this team's played the first 3 weeks to being able to be on a level to compete with these guys and have a chance at a win. But on the other side, no matter how good or how teams have been over the last 3 years, we play them within one possession, and you get to a one possession game, anything can happen, but unfortunate for us, it doesn't.
It's unfortunate, bro, but I just don't see how we possibly pull out this win. The way that I felt watching North Dakota, but also Georgia Southern run like Moses through the Red Sea splitting, I just don't see how we get it done within 1 week and with studs like Eric Gray and Marcus Major coming to town. I know we have a special back with Grant, but they've got a couple of special backs, at least 2. How do we contain them when we couldn't contain Georgia Southern?
The answer to that is gap integrity or gap assignments, right? Staying in the right gaps. And guys are either doing that because they're too confused of things happening at the line, or they're just losing focus and losing track of the discipline and thinking, I got to get to this gap, and it ends up being the wrong one. And the D linemen are doing it. It's more noticeable with the linebackers doing it. That's where you see the yards. This should be 3 or 4 at most gains turning into gouges for 20 plus. And then the tackling, wrapping up. Like those are 2 basically just mental things is what it breaks down to. And you drill and you repetition those things to try and really beat it into a guy's head so that he doesn't have to think about it. He just reacts and does it. But from the sounds of it, they've been trying to do that and it's not working. So that's kind of my thing with, like we were saying, I don't think Mickey Joseph is going to fix that in a week. He might be able to get that fixed or dialed in or dialed down over a few weeks. But I think if you see a noticeable difference in those areas, it's going to be because the environment, the change, the kind of shock to the system deal has people more alert, more focused, and more dialed in on what they're supposed to be doing and not, letting their eyes deceive them and shooting wrong gaps and diving at people's ankles. I mean, it's really a simple thing, but it's kind of like, it's really simple to stop biting your nails. You just don't bite your nails. But when you do it without thinking about it, it's really hard to break the habit. And I think that's kind of where a lot of the guys are on defense. It's just, I don't think they're too stupid to understand what the plays are and where they're supposed to be. And I definitely know they're not being coached to do things the way they're doing it on the tackling end. So it just boils down to, can they start getting their instincts right, you know?
So Oklahoma comes to town. This is their first game against a Power 5 school. Luckily for them, we're not really playing like a Power 5 school right now, so they're going to get another tune-up game. Potentially. Obviously, if Mickey Joseph can get the attitude turned around super quick, we might get lucky, but what can you tell me about the difference between the two quarterbacks? Who has the edge at quarterback? Dillion Gabriel was at UCF. That's correct, right?
Yeah, both of them obviously new to their teams. They could both come through the portal. Oklahoma wanted Casey Thompson, and they were saying, you know, at the press conference and stuff this week leading up that they thought they had a legit shot at getting him. We're thinking they would get him. Obviously, he came to Nebraska, so they've got Gabriel now. But I mean, from what I've seen, and it's a lot easier for them to not show as much as it is for us because they're blowing teams out and we're struggling to lose or struggling to win. He doesn't seem to run at all. They don't seem to have many design plays. I think I looked, he had like 10 carries over the first 2 games for 10 yards. So it seems to me like, you know, maybe he takes off when he has to, or maybe there's a couple little design runs here or there, but nothing, you know, like gouging. I haven't seen a lot, you know, to really know glaring differences. It seems like they stretch a lot more, like a lot more of his balls are deep balls again, and they could do it to Nebraska. I don't want this to be misconstrued like Nebraska's way better than these teams they've been playing. I understand they're not, but a lot of things are receivers blowing the top off the covers and their deep balls, and he's hitting them in stride. I have yet to really see Casey Thompson hit somebody in stride.
He really hits him in stride, doesn't he? He throws a really nice deep ball. He's a lefty. And yeah. I don't know if it's just him being a lefty, but something about the way he throws reminds me of Tua.
I don't know about Tua, man, but when you have this much time to throw and you have receivers like this, you're going to draw some comparisons to some studs. Oklahoma has a 6-man front here, and that's all they need. They didn't need the running back trickles out like he's going to be there, be available for pass protection. They don't need him. You know, he just, nope, okay, and he goes around into the flat. It's a zone defense that's playing either too shallow, definitely too shallow for him. He just blows the top off of it, and he's not sitting back there holding the ball. Second he's done with his drop step, he's got a guy that's beating the safeties by 4 or 5 yards, hits him in full stride. It's an easy touchdown. We tend to play too deep on zones, so I don't know that this is going to be a horrible thing for us. I would worry more on like the man situations, a guy like this getting loose, because we obviously don't turn our head to play the ball, so it's just going to be a foot race a lot. But this is just an example of everything kind of working. You know, he has perfect rhythm. He's in the middle of his drop. Second he plants that back foot. You know, like you said, being a lefty, plants that left leg. Nice, perfect on the money throw. He doesn't have to lose stride. You got a fast receiver who already beat more than what I said. You know, he just beats the safeties. When you have a line like that, you know, that's the beginning of it. He's comfortable. He just do straight back drop. He's not looking around. He's not getting happy feet. It's textbook, man. I wish we had a few plays like that, but it just doesn't seem to roll our way on those types of plays. This is more of an example of the style of zone that I think we're going to see from us. Notice how deep the safeties are. Everybody, the safeties, the linebackers, the nickel, everybody plays pretty deep. And that's why teams like this get the curls and things like that underneath of us. But, you know, even I think it's Farmer, he does a decent job staying in that window with them, but he takes a gamble swiping at the ball, misses, and, you know, adds another 8-9 yards before Buford comes up and clotheslines him like the WWE. But I don't think we'll have to worry too much deep, maybe later in the game, but I think they've shown through 3 games that they give such a cushion in the zone scheme that I think Oklahoma's going to be all over it with the speed that they have at receivers and the way the line will protect. They'll have plenty of time to pick apart, find those wide open windows, especially 6-8 yards past the line of scrimmage, and then let the guys work after they get the ball. Hopefully that's been addressed somewhat, you know, and they close in on those windows quicker, but you combine that with DBs not getting their head around to the ball, I think it's going to be a really long day for Nebraska's defense overall, but especially the secondary.
Yeah, I think our only hope is if we can get some pressure on the quarterback like we have in the last couple of games. The only time good things happen for our defense, it seems, is when, Nelson gets to the quarterback, but I'll take it from anyone. Buford makes an unbelievable one-arm interception here. Do you think we're going to be able to get to the quarterback like this?
No, I don't. And not without a blitz, not without a linebacker or a safety sneaking up. Or I can't remember what game. It might have been North Dakota towards the end when they sent Newsom on a blitz. They're going to have to get creative if they want to get pressure on him. They they go with a little bit more stacked line from what I've seen so far. I don't know if they'll continue that with Nebraska, if they'll try to spread us out, since that seems to be a pretty easy way to pick us apart going downfield. But for sure, the one-arm interception is amazing. But getting your head around and making a play on the ball, even if that's knocked down, if we don't get that interception 5 other times, 4 other times, 6 other times throughout the game, other corners, other DBs get their head around and make a play on the ball, knock it down, or jump at the right time and get in the way of the receiver. Like this just keeping your back to everything and trying to face the receiver and continue to run is just hurting us in all 3 games so far. And I think it's going to absolutely destroy us if they play that same type of pass defense against Oklahoma. But I mean, Buford's been one of the few bright spots on the defense, and I think teams are well aware of the end guys we have. I think they're going to have to schematically come up with some things to try and create a little bit of a pressure game on Gabriel throughout the game, or just even at certain spots. If a couple spots if they drive, Shenander's always kind of had a bend but don't break defense previously, like last year when everybody said it was so good. Give up a lot of yards, not a lot of points. If you can do that and make some pass breakups in key situations, get pressure in key situations, I think it's kind of a long shot based on the overall talent Oklahoma has, but I think it's their only hope. So this play kind of lumps all of our defensive issues into one play as far as gap assignments go. They're in a man because the safety is going to come down on a blitz off the edge. He's going to get frozen on the RPO exchange. The nickel's going to come down and that slot's going to sit down in an H-back spot. But that middle linebacker, he's going to shoot up to try and seal off the A gap. Since the safety misses or doesn't stop the play in the backfield, there's no help once the nickel back gets blocked as far as the B side, the B gap goes. The blitz comes down. He stutters. There's just enough to give him time. The nickel, who should have that backside help, if that linebacker was supposed to slide in the A gap, he gets too close to the D tackle, can't get off. So now everything kind of gets shuffled and it's a messy pile, but he finds the lane over on the opposite side. There's no help there and he's gone. It's things like that hurt Nebraska. We've got guys getting in the wrong gaps. We got guys missing tackles in backfields like that, over pursuing. I think this type of play is a lot more of what we're going to see from them, knowing what our defensive ailments are and how they can exploit them. So this example with us with, gap integrity in general, whether it's linebackers, linemen, or it could just be bad play calling. If these guys are doing what they're supposed to be doing, I don't know what they're calling here. The defensive tackle right next to O'Shawn is going to get caught up basically in the B gap between the left guard and the center. And he's going to get sealed off so the center can come out and get to the linebacker. The linebacker is stuck. He's kind of caught up where he has to protect the C gap because O'Shawn goes outside and the tackle goes inside, and the A gap. And as he's caught up trying to look for that, the center comes out and seals him off. The other linebacker kind of has the same situation up high where he has 2 gaps he's worrying about once the running back gets the ball, and he shoots the outside gap where the lead block is coming from the H-back spot. Once he cuts back to the middle where no one's at, all he can really do is dive at his legs, and there's no help over the backside, and it turns into pursuit, and Buford knocks him out at the 4 or 5 yard line. This play is a perfect example of the issues Nebraska has with gap assignments, and compare that to the last play we saw what Oklahoma did running the ball. I think you're going to see Oklahoma creating a lot of zone type runs that will create confusion, whether it's between the D linemen or the linebackers, and take advantage of those open gaps. I mean, this isn't they're messing up to where there's an empty gap. There's empty gaps. So this is, again, Georgia Southern obviously was underrated coming in, at least by Nebraska and a lot of people, but the talent level is going to be a lot higher on Saturday, and I would be very, very surprised if they don't run a lot of these zone type run plays to see if Nebraska is still having these issues, and if they are even on a smaller scale, they're going to get absolutely torched by both of Oklahoma's running backs. The other thing that Nebraska has not gotten better at, and is still going to be an issue, whether it's Mickey Joseph, Scott Frost, Whipple, you or me, is this offensive line protection. Most of the game, Georgia Southern put a basic 4-man front, and they were getting home more often than not against 5 offensive linemen. This is an issue in itself, especially when they just run our tackles into the backfield and then turn around and they're at the quarterback. But watching tape on Oklahoma, they run a good chunk of blitz packages. They disguise things. They come at you from different angles, whether it's linebackers, safeties, nickels. I mean, we know that their coach is the D coordinator from Clemson. You know, I mean, he made his hay being a defensive guy, so they're going to have plenty of schemes for us to try and handle. And it's going to be telegraphed when we're passing, because we're going to almost have to leave a running back in the backfield when we're not trying to throw screens to break the blitz. But I think the one saving grace is the same thing that's been the saving grace, you know, the first 3 games of the season in Grant. If he's able to get loose out of the backfield, if he's not getting hit as he's getting handoffs, it could be tough for them to stick with the blitz, just because instead of having 6-7 guys waiting in the backfield to try and get into pursuit and track him down, you've got 1 or 2 of those guys already in the backfield or out of position on one end of the line of scrimmage. There could be some exploiting on Nebraska's offensive side in that. I mean, we know they're going to come out and try to do the quick slants and hook routes and things like that before pressure can get home. But I wouldn't be surprised if Grant has another big day, even though I don't think Nebraska overall will. But I think he's just that good that the way he makes guys miss, if they are trying to send blitz or they're trying to get too creative with disguises and things like that, he could make them pay for it on the back end.
Like Michael Scott, I am ready to get hurt again. Saturday coming around. I'm excited. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to lie to myself. I'm going to say that we have a chance to beat them. And then I'm going to be shocked when we lose a close game. I guess I won't be shocked. This is the first time I'll actually see it coming. What do you think happens in the game? Give me your prediction.
I'll be shocked if it's a close game. The one thing going that shouldn't be lost is Oklahoma's position. You know, like, we're not a good team, but it is their first road game. It's going to be the type of environment that Nebraska usually is. I mean, I don't know how, but Nebraska seems to still be. I know you hear different mixed opinions on how the environment was last week. I was there, man. Like, it seemed like a typical game for the most part, even as kind of surprised as everybody was that at the time, everybody was like, I can't believe they're hanging in there like this. Obviously, they ended up just winning, but I think it's going to be a test for them, just not the test we were hoping for. You know, again, new quarterback, new coach, new system, their first road game, kind of the things we were talking about we were going to be facing when we had our first game against Northwestern, and except ours was however many thousands of miles away instead of 2 states north. So I don't know. Hopefully they get off to a shaky start, or on certain third downs, the crowd noise is a problem, or just if they have to change things or go silent count, things like that they haven't had to do yet this year since they've been at home against, you know, less talented teams. All of it's a long shot, man. All of that tied in with the team reacting different now that Frost is gone and Mickey's in. All of that's a long shot. I'm just hoping that a team besides us finally has to deal with some adversity, you know what I mean, and gives a slight chance to at least stay in the game. But I don't see this being a 1 possession loss. I think there's really no reason in my mind that they don't have this pretty well wrapped up shortly after halftime, if not by halftime. But I hope that's not the case, man. I hope it's a good game all the way through, and there is somewhat of a legit chance for Nebraska to still be in it at the end.
Tell us what you think in the comments. Are we going to win this game? Is there any shot in hell? We'll be live, of course, Sunday afternoon sometime, Sunday in the evening. Be looking out for that. Can't wait to see you guys there. Go Big Red.